We'll be more than ready.
What do you think from the first fight? He didn't do so well.
Well, you know what? I think he was just he wasn't thinking or prepared to win a fight. From what he tells me, he was just thinking of going all 12 rounds, but never thought, I got to win the fight. Just thinking got to go 12 rounds. So that makes a big difference. I think right now he's thinking of winning and he's thinking of hurting somebody. So that's the most important thing.
What have you worked?
Right now, he thinking of winning. What the heck was this guy thinking of before then? I'll tell you what he was thinking of. He was thinking of making 40 million bucks for doing the bare bones minimum. And he couldn't even do that. Sums it up, people. In one of my last videos, I exposed Mr. Anthony John Stewart for sitting there and saying, my character is all about the money right now. Yeah? And what you heard Robert Garcia say here is, sums all that up. How can you be preparing? Don't forget, people. When Tyson Fury was doing 8 weeks of camp and then going off for 6 months, that's one thing. Your man Jon Stewart lives in the gym. Lives in the gym. How can you be living in the gym? 6-month camp. And you get to fight night and you don't know what you're supposed to be doing. And you think you're going in there trying to tip-tap-toe for 12th round. I completely agree. In fact, I was the one who been said. He ain't focused. He ain't really want to get it like that. Way back when, 2017, after AJ went life and death with Mr. Vladimir Oldko, yeah? When Anthony John Stewart went in there in 2017, April or May, whenever it was, with Vladimir Oldko, Vladimir Oldsko, yeah? 100%. AJ went in there with Vladimir Oldsko. After the fight, he told Rob. He pulled Rob to the side and said, listen, Rob, yeah? I just had a bit of a tough fight. I wouldn't even call it a tough fight, to be honest. Back in the day, yeah, that was a standard fight, honestly. Because don't forget, people, I mean, not being funny here, but it's only in recent years where it's become the standard, where two big 250-pound men, can get into a ring and it be all fiddly roundy. Innit? That's not, back in the day, yeah, when you had two big buff dudes going head to head, naturally, it was raucous. It's only in the last 10 years when, don't forget, people, the whole Klitschko thing, the whole Klitschko era really changed up the game. And then obviously you got Floyd Mayweather as well. But think about it, in the main, how often do you see a pub fight and it's all messy? That's how, I'm sorry, but when you look at two big men, or two men at any level, or two entities clashing physically, violently, it's supposed to be messy. Do you understand? Whether you're a pro or not, when you've got two men who are desperate to win, and winning involves taking someone's head off, naturally, it's going to be explosive. It should be. Welcome to 2022, though. In 2022, or for the last decade or so, the whole paradigm's flipped up now. Now, you can have two men go head to head, and the outcome, as you heard there from Robert Garcia, is the outcome is 12 rounds and tip-tap-toeing. AJ's one of the most explosive athletes in the sports history. Now, that don't mean nothing, because he ain't been able to string it together, but that's the facts. The facts are, he is one of the most explosive athletes in the history of boxing. What's he doing with that explosiveness? Going into the ring and having no intention of stopping the fight, of getting a stoppage in the fight, and having no intention of really winning. He turning up and getting the checkbook. Go and look at the post-fight press conference. Oh, I had a great session in there with USYK. Can't wait to get back to the gym on Monday. What? You had a great session. What do you think this is? Do you think the fans are paying to watch you have a sparring session? That's what honestly, that's what you think it is. And these celebrity cats, yeah, they've got so many dudes topping them off 24/7, yeah. They think it's almost like, yeah, of course they're going to pay for, of course the people are going to buy any shit up out there. Do you understand? Rather than feeling indebted, I feel all athletes should feel indebted to the paying customer. They should feel like, damn. And that's what Cus D'Amato said. Much greater boxing minds than me. Cus D'Amato said to all of his fighters, the fans are your emperor, essentially. Yeah, those are the people you entertain. Those are the people you salute. These days, though, all the whole celebrity culture has turned it all round. And now it's like, well, if I go in there and have a sparring session, the fans best be grateful. And in fact, they not only best be grateful, they best thank me for it. AJ said, oh, yeah, people need to appreciate I work really hard. What the fuck? You work really hard? You go to the gym, do something you love doing, pumping weights, and you get in there and get your head boxed off by a dude half your size. What's there to be thankful for? Not being funny, you nearly got knocked out in the 12th round. But outside of getting knocked out, what didn't you do? Innit? You lost every round, pretty much. You lost every round, apart from the 7th, and you nearly got knocked out by a dude half your size. What? Be grateful? At which point? You mean be grateful at the fact that you was nearly keeling over in the last round? Joker. I just think it's shocking that we live in a day and age, especially when you look at the history of boxing, or especially when you look at the history of violence. It's never been a safer time to be violent as such. It's never been safer. It really ain't. You can sign up for a violent event like boxing and go in there and, I mean, innit, it should be, it's not supposed to be possible for two big buff dudes, trained killers, to go in there and just flutter around. It's just not meant to go like that. Go way back 100 years ago. People was literally doing all kind of madness, Mandingo fighting and whatever else, to the very end, literally. These days, we don't ask these guys to go to the end. All we ask for them is to you know what I mean, to give something, not even give something back, but where's the pride gone? And I think that's the key thing. A key driving force here was pride. Yeah, money's great, but ultimately, the state of men has changed expeditiously, in my opinion. And I'm not saying, has it affected me? Absolutely. Am I as hard as people used to be? Absolutely not. But I'm telling you, the difference is, no one ain't paying me to be soft. Do you know what I'm saying? If people was paying me 30 million to be soft, there'd be a problem there. Do you understand? I'm the first one to say, am I soft? 100%. But no one ain't paying me to be hard. We pay AJ to be hard. And I told you, if you've got a problem with that, if you can't be hard, sit down somewhere. Yeah? And no one asks you to keep milking the fans. Go sit down. If you recognise, you know what, I'm too soft, I'm super duper 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 soft, let me sit down somewhere and stop pissing the YB off. He could have been said that. No, he ain't say that. He say he want to do this game. And if you want to do this game, you're going to be therefore up for scrutiny. When you're taking the piss. Because you go in there and it's like there's absolutely none. You heard the guy just told you there was no expectation of any level of violence in there. The expectation was to go in, and you can watch it, you can see it in his eyes. It was just kind of, loosey-goosey, you know what I mean? Pilates style. AJ went in there for a Pilates session. I'm going to go through the motions and loosen my back off, and that's what he was doing. I'm going to work my spine and, you know what I mean? Stretch it all out, 100%. Madness. And back in the day, regardless of any of that crap here, pride was one of the key things that drove men. Yeah, men didn't want to be bums because they wanted, you know what I mean? Didn't want to be seen down bad. These times, and it's not even you don't even need to be a professional. Most men don't want to be physically punked by anyone. AJ's paid not to be punked physically. So it's double whammy. You get paid not to be punked, and as a man, you should not want to be punked. AJ go in there, £30 million not to be punked. Big hardback Nick not to be punked. Should have a whole bunch of pride not to be punked. In his home crowd not to be punked. He go in there, get punked. It's like, what the fuck? What do you mean you didn't know? You didn't have no expectations. So what have you been doing for 6 months of your camp then? What have you been doing? And that's why I tell you, and that's why I feel vindicated that I told you that a lot of this, yeah, AJ must be held responsible, but a lot of this comes down to the trainer. Mike Tyson says Castillo would not only the physical side of things. In fact, Cuss was old then. Cuss really weren't doing a lot of the physical training. A lot of the physical training was Kevin Rooney and Teddy Atlas. What Cuss was doing, almost more than 50% of the time, was training Mike's mind. And that's what's been overlooked here. You've got Goobers, Head and Shoulders conditioner, Ben Davidson, rocking up. Yeah. The dude, I'm not even sure, he's not even a qualified spin cycles instructor. He ain't. Yeah. You know them dudes who sit at the head of the spin class for a bunch of old women. He ain't even qualified for that. Yeah. Mr. Unqualified old granny's spin cycle class instructor rocks up and he just balls into the top of the sport. It's things like that. Not just Ben, they're all the same. And even to be honest, even the schooled ones, like Rob McCracken, he ain't got a clue what he's doing. The state of AJ shows he hasn't got a clue what he's doing. I'm not being funny. Even look at Carl Froch. I hate to say it, but Carl Froch, when he started out here, was proper grim. But look at Carl. Carl spent X amount of time with Rob McCracken, and he ended up having to employ a psychologist because he was losing his barnet. Do you know what I'm saying? Losing it. And that for me is any fighter, yeah, who feels they have to employ a psychologist, that there is an indictment on their trainer. Because back in the day, the old school trainers, you didn't hear about no psychologist. The old school trainers, that was embedded in the training. There's a great quote from Custody Amato when Mike's training. Mike's doing, I think he's skipping or something, or shadow boxing. And Custody Amato tells him, your mind ending your work. I mean, that's just one example. Mike wasn't in the middle of a real fight. He was just training. And Custody Amato was obviously spent a lot of time around him. And using that experience around Mike, he knew, or he had a feeling, premonition or whatever you want to call it, where Mike wasn't switched on. It's little things like that. That's what great trainers do. They pick up on them things. Now imagine, AJ's just told you he rocked up to a $50 million fight and had no real... Do you know what I'm saying? Guess what? Someone like Custody Amato, he would have been picked up on that 4 months before and told AJ, your mind's not on your purpose in this session. Yeah? You're not thinking totally ferocious. You're not thinking about pushing someone's nose bone right into the back of their bonds. Do you know? And that's how it lines up. Yeah? It's not a simple case of, oh well, YB, you're wrong. Ben Davidson's got his spin cycle instructor class certificate, so he's going to rock up now and train top of the pot. It don't work like that. It starts at the base root. At the base root, your mind must be in your work. Otherwise, you'll end up on a $50 million stage in your hometown and you get your shit pushed in by a dude half your size because your mind wasn't in your work. And unfortunately, the institutional failures, the whole system around AJ, not one of them goobers picked up on it. I said, wait there a minute, AJ. You, the way you're moving right now is purposeless. You're going in, the worst thing is, I've been saying that. I've been saying his performances are purposeless. Yeah, his attitude, purposeless. This game ain't about, and to be honest, all top level, when you're talking about the top 0.01% of sport, yeah, it can't be about rocking up and going through the motions. You must want to gouge your opponent's eye out in whatever sport you are. And when you actually look at the world, yeah, even non-violent sports, I've been saying this a few times, but these guys, yeah, at the top of sports, they want to gouge their opponent's eyes out. Facts. I bet you any money, yeah, he might not say it publicly, but I bet you any money, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, they would gouge each other's eyes out if it means they could get the W over the ops. Facts. They wouldn't say it because of the whole PR thing, but I bet you any money, if they had a button in their cars which said gouge his eye out and you get the W, both, you know what I mean, they'd have done it straight. And I respect that. Because I'm sure there's some weird rainbow flag dons who will be saying, oh no, YB, you know, that's too violent. We need to be softer, yeah. And we need to start getting men breastfeeding. That's what you man will be saying, 100%. But I ain't down for men to be breastfeeding. Yeah, that's what women do. Women breastfeed with their titties. I ain't looking to do that weird ass. You know what I mean? Again, it's 2022. I ain't trying to lose my channel, but you know what I mean. Obviously, but listen, Robert Garcia. I guess at least he airing it out. Does Robert Garcia understand what's required? We'll find out. But at least he airing it out. Guess what? I haven't heard one guy, that Fernando cat, he another one. Fernando and Ben Davison for me are 1 for 1. No qualification have an arse. He just rocked up and produced crap results. Yeah, Tyson Fury nearly got smoked by Wilder under Ben Davison. We saw what a real commander could do. Yeah? A real commander took Tyson Fury from nearly half knocked out to smoking the guy. Yeah? Same thing here with this Fernando cat. When AJ was with Tony Sims, and Tony Sims has a good resume, because look at Conor Benn, for example. Conor Benn, his mind is in his, you know what I mean? Yeah, he fighting bums, but either way, his mind is in his work. Yeah, you can see it. He ain't going, show me a Conor Benn fight where you don't see purpose. He purposeful. And that's ironically how the old AJ used to be, full of purpose. When you saw AJ in there, lighting up Dillian Whyte, full of purpose. He vicious. He enjoyed being vicious. Mike Tyson said that there's nothing more dangerous than a fighter who loves being dangerous. There's nothing more dangerous than a happy fighter. A man who just, you know what I mean, who lives and loves to be dangerous. AJ at the start of his career, you could just see it in him, buzzing off the danger. Yeah, get clapped by Dillian, smile, walk forward. Show me where you've seen that since. Instead, now we get AJ pop in the mouth. Oh, don't really want to know anymore. It's weak. AJ's got a weak mind and he's been managed weakly. Weak trainers. His balances fell off. And I said to you, back in 2017, when Rob McCrappen was told by AJ, I don't want to be in hard fights anymore, that's where it should have been nipped in the bud. Way back then. I'd have sat him down and said, what do you mean you don't want to be in hard fights anymore? Go back and look at history. Fighting is hard. Yeah, and better yet, top 0.1% of sport is hard. Of course we don't. All top 0.1% of sports people don't want to be in hard, but that's what being the absolute best is. What you think you become undisputed champion, not having to do hard work. Who told you that? Who put that idea in your mind? I tell you who did, the rainbow flag dons. Oh, and everyone's a winner. Oh, everyone gets a prize. What do you mean? No, everyone gets a prize and it shouldn't be that hard. Yeah, that's what they tell you. They tell you that everyone can win and it shouldn't be that hard and it should be that hard. Otherwise I'd do it. If everyone was handing out undisputed world championships, I'll have a piece of that as well, since it's going around. Obviously, it ain't going to be easy. And a good trainer would have told him that. And in fact, I'd have said, listen, AJ, if after that fight, the key thing that comes to your mind to tell me is you don't want to be in a situation like that again, you best retire. And you best save everyone. All the effort. And that's the God's honest truth here. And that's why, on reflection, I actually respect Naz. Prince Nassim. Because for whatever reason, yeah, I think Prince Nassim knew he didn't have it in him no more like that. And he sat down somewhere. And he didn't... Listen, Naz was massive. Nassif had the whole Asian culture down pat. He could have carried on milking it, couldn't he, like AJ's doing. Prince Nassim could have carried on milking UK stadiums, fighting mid-level dudes, and milking it. I'm not saying he did it because he was trying to be Gandhi, but still, he did it. And he sat down somewhere when he knew he didn't have it no more. And again, that shows you the pride. Prince Nassim didn't want to be going 50-50 with bums. He wanted to go out on his own terms and keep that respect level. You know what? I know I'm not my best. I know I'm not going to be my best anymore. I've got the money. I haven't got that. I can't compete at them 0.1% levels anymore. Let me sit down somewhere. He sit down somewhere. AJ, I believe AJ's at the same point, or AJ for the last few years has been at the same point Prince Naz found himself at. The difference is AJ's gone on 10 fights too long. He should have been sat down after the Klitschko fight, really. That's the God's honest truth. Based on what we know about afterwards, when he told Rob, yeah, that was too hard. I don't want to be in a hard fight like that again. That was the crossing roads for me. And guess what? Rob McCrappen, being a D-level trainer, rather than sit AJ down and tell him, listen AJ, I can't lie to you. That's, looking at your career, that's probably going to be one of your easier fights. Historically speaking, AJ versus Vlad, yeah, it was a decent fight, but that was an average kind of fight. Do you think you're going to beat Tyson Fury? Easier than that? I don't think so. So you might as well forget it now. You might as well pack it up now. That's what the conversation should have been. Instead, Rob, look how AJ's career went after that. That was a key turning point. After the Klitschko fight, that's really when we started seeing AJ coming out on the back foot and trying to be a boxer. Yeah, because shortly after that, a year after that, we had AJ versus Parker. And that was the first fight that ended up going the distance. AJ came out and said, oh, I want to prove to everyone that I can box. What the fuck? What? You're meant to be the next Mike Tyson. That's how AJ was being billed. AJ was being billed as the 6'6" Mike Tyson. What do you mean? Why would a guy whose fans don't want to see you fanny around? Why would you want to be something that no one ain't trying to see? Oh, yeah, the fans love me knocking people out, but I want to prove I can be more boring. What the fuck? But that was a cop-out. What AJ was really saying was, that's an easy thing to say, oh, I want to prove I can box. What he was really saying was, he's scared to get stuck in. That was the truth. The truth was he didn't want to get it like that. He want to nip and tuck and nick fights if he can. That's what he was really saying. He wants something for nothing. And that was because Rob could have nipped it in the bud and told him, listen, AJ, you ain't going to be that guy who can nick fights on points and whatever else. If you're going to do this game or thrive and get the most out of yourself in this game, you have to be a Terminator. And if you don't think you can go back to that place, which really, I'm not being funny, Vlad was old and Vlad was never an inside fighter. When you actually watch that fight back, AJ it was open season. Every time AJ opened up on Vlad, it was open season. It wasn't like AJ was opening up and Vlad was coming back. No, really, honestly, go back and watch it. Every time AJ opened up, Vlad was just doing what he always does under pressure, and not a lot. That's the truth. Vlad's never been a guy who can get stuck in and tear it up on the inside. So it's like, what does AJ mean? Okay, AJ got hit hard with one shot. Yeah, AJ got hit with a huge right hand. Yeah, put him down. He then got up. After that point, yes, he got hit with shots, but it's like, yeah, you're in a fight. It wasn't like the Andy Ruiz fight as such. The Andy Ruiz fight for me was arguably worse, because Andy Ruiz can tear it up on the inside. Andy Ruiz will hit you with combinations. Do you understand? But the Vlad fight, for that to be the big turning point, it was worrying. Especially, we're talking about a 41-year-old man who's never been an inside fighter. And after going in there with him, you're all bent out of shape and trying to change your natural style. But it's poor management, poor coaching, extremely poor coaching. It should be them kind of things must be nipped in the bud. Otherwise, if you let fear and doubt, that was doubt basically. AJ was doubting himself. He was either doubting himself or he was focusing on all the wrong things, like self-preservation. And if you want to focus on self-preservation, I hate to break it to you, yeah, but boxing is the wrong game for you. And that's what he should have been told in 2017. But instead, the money men and the low IQ beta coaches like Rob McCrappen thought, let's just try and milk this longer. And they indulged his fear. They indulged his anxiety. It's no wonder. Do you think it's a coincidence? We all heard the stories about how AJ lost his head in the first Ruiz fight and he had anxiety attacks. Do you not think it's odd that AJ didn't have no anxiety attacks before the Klitschko fight, did he? AJ was on top. AJ was categorically alpha in all of his fights. The doubts started stepping in after that Klitschko fight. Naturally, you've been put down for the first time, but great coaches would have nipped it in the bud and boosted their man up. Not said, right, AJ, actually, yeah, we're gonna emphasize your doubts and your fears. And we're going to completely change style. That's what they did. They told AJ, yeah, AJ, you're right to be scared. And therefore, we're going to change our style. That's 100%. They conceded. Rob McCrappen conceded and told AJ, yeah, you're right to be scared. That's why we must now change our style. Facts. Look at the Ruiz 2 fight. Team AJ said, you know what, AJ, you are chinless. You can't fight on the inside. Everything we've been doing for the last 10 years was wrong. Let's turn into Mr. Ballerina. Facts. So it's no wonder AJ's psychologically shocked because he's all over the place. They should have told him, and I said this at the time, we're doubling down. Yeah? We're going to ride this till the wheel fall off. If we go in there and we double down on our true self and we get our cherry popped, so be it. We can at least sit at home knowing, you know what, he's a better man. What can we say? What we ain't going to do is shit our pants, fiddle around and try and find a tactical way to win a fight against Mr. Blobby. No, we're pushing Mr. Blobby's wig back, or we're getting our wig pushed back. Simple as that. Because you can, as a man, you can live with that. You can live with knowing I'm true to myself. AJ hasn't been true to himself for the last 5 years. He's been running and hiding. But facts, he's been running and hiding from, let's not forget people, this didn't start out with AJ all dancey, no. And that's what I mean. That was AJ's true self. The one that was built. And AJ hasn't been honest with himself for the last 5 years. He's been running and trying to find an easier way to do things. And unfortunately, I think it's so entrenched now. I mean, can you believe it? It's been like 3.5 years since the Ruiz loss. And we've only gone backwards. Now, it's somewhat good news to see Robert Garcia at least bringing some things to light that we already knew, but I just think it's going to be too little too late. We'll see though. We'll see. Hopefully Rob Garcia's got more control. That Fernando guy, I'm sorry, Fernando's been in the camp since the Ruiz 1 fight. He's had 3 years, and AJ's, in my opinion, only got worse. Let's see anyway.